When we live in a culture that's constantly encouraging us to buy and trying to convince us that we'd be better off with more, it can be tough to swim against the tide and go our own way. But it is possible if we're willing to persist. And in this video, I'm going to take you through 8 minimalist tips to help you live with less and break free from consumerism. So tip number 1 is borrow rather than buy. If you're likely to only use something once, then think about whether you can borrow it or even hire it instead of buying it and then risking it just sitting in a cupboard somewhere, never getting used ever again. So there are companies out there where you can hire outfits for special occasions or even pieces of equipment. I remember years and years ago, I hired a carpet cleaner from a firm when I was moving out of a rented property. There would have been absolutely no point in me buying a carpet cleaner because I would never have used it ever again. So renting it was by far the cheaper and less wasteful option. Tip number 2 is to unsubscribe from email lists. So you might have signed up for a retailer's newsletter in order to get a small discount on your first purchase. And then you keep getting their email newsletters telling you what new items they've got coming in or sales they've got on. And certainly that's one way that I've been tempted to go onto their website and have a look and buy things that really I don't need. Since unsubscribing from these newsletters, my inbox is less cluttered, which is great, but also there's far less temptation for me to start looking at stuff I really don't need. I know that these retailers exist, so if I do need something, I can go onto their website and search for it. Tip number 3 is to reduce your time on social media. These days on social media, we have a lot more personalized ads tailored towards our likes and our interests. Again, that is more temptation for us to buy things that we didn't think we needed and suddenly we think we do. So being more intentional about the amount of time you spend on social media means that you're less likely to be seeing these adverts, and it's going to reduce the temptation of you spending money on things you don't need. Tip number 4 is to know your shopping triggers. Do you tend to buy things when you're in a certain mood? Is your spending linked to a fear of missing out? So if you see these time-limited offers and you feel you've got to buy something right now, otherwise you'll miss out on it, do you end up buying something that way? That's certainly what I get pulled into, this fear of not having an item unless I get it there and then. And if you've built any minimalist habits that are helping you to live with less and break out of the consumerism bubble, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you've got to say. Tip number 5 is to recognize when you're keeping items just in case. Now, I'm not saying that keeping just in case items is bad all the time, but I know myself that I kept a lot of things just in case, and I kept them for many years and they never got used. It can be good to have things just in case so that you don't end up spending more money. You've already got the thing there. But I would say if it's been there for a few years and you've not used it, it might be time to think about decluttering it. Tip number 6 is to use your favorites. This could be anything like clothes or shoes. For me, I had a particular perfume that they don't make this perfume anymore. So I had a bottle of this and I kept a tiny little amount left in this bottle because I wanted to save it for as long as possible because I knew I wouldn't be able to buy it again. But you know what happened? It sat in my cupboard for many years without being used. And actually a few weeks ago, I thought, you know what? I'm going to spray on some of that perfume and I'm going to enjoy it. And I did. I loved it. And I don't know why I got so hung up on not using it, because once I've used it, once it's gone, it's not going to be a big deal. I've lived without wearing it for many years, so I'm sure that once it's all gone and I've no longer got it, I will survive without it. Tip number 7 is to declutter your stuff. It wouldn't be a minimalist tips video without mentioning decluttering, would it? One of the biggest lessons I learned from decluttering over 10 years worth of stuff is that I needed a lot less than I actually had. In fact, it was really liberating to get rid of so many things I hadn't used in years, and I no longer had to worry about them. But doing one major declutter isn't the end of the story, which leads me into the next tip, which is to set aside time to declutter regularly. Once you've done a major declutter, it's something that needs to be done regularly in order to keep on top of it and so that you don't end up in the same situation as before. And the regularity at which you declutter is something that you can decide works best for you. There are some things I like to declutter as soon as they come into the house. So takeout menus go straight into the recycling. If we have any statements or bills come in, if we need to keep them, we put them in a designated document folder. If we don't need to keep them, we shred them. And it's not only about the things that come into your home, it's also about just checking around your home regularly to see if there's any items that you think, well, I haven't used that in a while, or I really don't think I need that thing anymore, and recycling it or giving it to charity. However, before you start decluttering, there's a few things I recommend you do to help you get the most out of your decluttering decluttering experience. These are things I didn't do that I wished I had done. So if you'd like to find out what they are, then watch the video that's on the screen now. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you again soon.